Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel. The first story is called Remove It All. I worked for a movie theater company in a state that snows every winter. We had a contract with a snow shoveling company. But my boss refused to use it because the cost of each removal had a possibility of hurting his yearly bonus by a couple of percentage points. Only if it snows more than 6 inches, he would say every time. Unfortunately, this meant that one of the ushers would have to shovel snow on the sidewalk. Since it's a safety hazard to block the emergency exit doors of a theater, it meant you had to shovel a path around the entire building and for each exit door. Ultimately, due to the size, it's about a quarter mile around the building. No one likes doing it because it's cold and shoveling a simple 1 shovel length path can take 2 hours. During a snowy Christmas week, the busiest week for movie theaters of the year, it had snowed just under 6 inches. We were extremely busy and my boss demanded to take one of our much needed ushers to go shovel snow. I was an assistant manager at the time. When we asked if the company could come out instead of us doing it, we were told no. To which one of my coworkers, we'll call him Dan, said he would do it. An hour later, after he had gone outside, one by one my boss pulled each usher in and wrote them up for refusing to shovel snow. When Dan came back in, the other ushers complained to him about it. Dan asked our boss why, and our boss said that it was because no one wanted to shovel all of the snow. And if Dan didn't shovel all of the snow, he would get written up as well. This all happened at the beginning of my shift, around 5 PM. Cue the malicious compliance. What my boss didn't realize was that it was the last day of the payroll period. In Christmas week, Dan had already accumulated 40 hours of work earlier in the day. My boss left right after telling Dan to make sure all of the snow was removed. We worked the rest of the shift and everyone assumed Dan had finished and left. It's 3 AM now and we go to punch out for the week, but we can't because there's a shift that hasn't been approved yet. Someone is still working and is at 12 hours of overtime. It was Dan. I go out to investigate since it should only be myself and my manager. As I walk outside, I see Dan coming back in, smiling the biggest grin on his face in the most dry, unsnowed path I have ever seen in my life. It looked like 2 pictures cut together. There was not a speck of snow on the entire front path of the theater. Dan spent 10 hours outside making sure that he removed all the snow from the walkway. We had a good laugh, clocked off and left. We didn't hear anything until later that week when I was called into the office and had to write out a statement to why I let Dan work 12 hours of overtime. My boss had this smug look on his face like he had beaten us. He was not too pleased when he found out that all of our statements included him saying the phrase "remove all the snow" and that he refused to call the snowplow company. My boss was transferred to another theater soon after. The next story is called You Don't Want to Pay? Not too long ago, I decided I was done working at my job. The projects all started blending together. There wasn't much innovation or inspiration. People fought so hard to keep the status quo instead of progressing. I'm sure you know the like. Also, my wedding was coming up, and as we were doing the whole thing ourselves from soup to nuts, my mind was busy elsewhere at the point. Typically with US jobs, you're not required to, but recommended to put in your 2 weeks notice as resignation. And if you have any pay time off saved up, usually they pay this out. As societal expectations go, I let my director know I'm submitting my resignation, and this was 2 weeks prior to my last day. She had no problem with it and made the request to Human Resources. The next day I get a notice stating that my request to get my pay time off payout has been denied. Mind you, it's not like I had a month's worth or anything crazy like that. It was literally 3 days that I just wanted them to pay out. Instead, they tell me I need to submit my resignation 3 weeks in advance for me to receive my pay time off, not 2. So I dig out this archaic binder I received on my first day of work and find that section regarding the payout. Lo and behold, it states 3 weeks. Seriously? My director goes out of her way to let HR know that it's approved. That she's okay with them paying out the 3 measly days, but still denied. So screw them. I submit a new resignation letter, dated the same date as the original, and instead change my last day to the end of the week. I also submit a paid time off request to take off the last 3 days of the week. Approved. To make things more official, I even put an out-of-office message for the last 3 days I'm not in office, essentially putting all projects on hold because, well, I'm out of the office, enjoying my paid time off. It was the most useless asinine hoop jumping I had to do just to get 3 days paid out, which was rightfully owed as it had been earned. So the lesson in all of this? Know your company's policy really well if you're even thinking about quitting. The third story is called Only the Best. I work at a popular steakhouse in Arkansas as a head server. I respect my boss immensely, although sometimes his business strategies aren't the brightest. He's a very good man at heart and always wants the best for the restaurant. You'll never see him not smiling. We will call him Mr. Custard. Shortly before we reopened for business, he was given a grant to clean the restaurant as well as possible before reopening. He set out to spend every dime of it. I, as well as many others, were there 40 or more hours a week for 2 weeks doing little else but scrubbing, bleaching, disinfecting and degreasing every inch of the store. I was really very proud of the job we were doing, as was Mr. Custard. About 3 days before we opened, Mr. Custard asked me to bleach every single cup we own and scrub them by hand. I was one of the more meticulous cleaners, so it's understandable that he would give me this job. This was no small task, and it would take several hours. This was fine by him, as long as every cup was clear and see-through, rather than browning or foggy. After doing almost 200 of them, I found that many were not lightening up, they were just old. I showed Mr. Custard a few, and he insisted that I throw away the ones that didn't let up. He wanted only the best. I asked him if he was sure about this, as it would be a lot of cups. Completely positive, he said. I bleached over 400 cups and cleaned each one by hand. Then, as I put each one away, I checked to make sure they weren't foggy. If they were, they got thrown away. When I showed Mr. Custard the finished product, he was initially pleased. Sitting in front of him were pure, perfect cups. Then he realized only about 1/3 of the cups remained. A large majority of our cups were just too old to be clear again. He maintained his smile, but I could see him dying a little bit inside when I told him that's all we had left. Not surprisingly, we ordered more cups. The last story is called Favoritism Can Bite You in the End. Years ago, I got my first full-time job working as a bank teller. It was a job that for the most part I enjoyed, especially since it was a low-income area with a lot of immigrants, which meant I got to meet lots of really kind and interesting people. I wanted to spend more time working here, but the management was just not great. Both our manager and assistant manager were females. That in itself is not a bad thing at all. I've since then had multiple female managers that I consider to be some of the greatest leaders I've worked with. What was an issue, however, was a massive stiffness. There were 3 tellers working there, myself and 2 other women. I'm the only male. Months into working here, I started to realize that there was a serious case of favoritism towards my female co-workers. They would get extra days off, paid mind you, longer breaks. They got away with mistakes that would get most tellers fired, like losing money or misplacing deposits in another person's account. And in general, just stuff I couldn't ever get away with. When it came to me, I was the pack horse. I was not given any slack when it came to making mistakes, and I was always expected to pick up tasks that the other tellers weren't willing to do. Things like emptying the coin machine, reordering supplies, opening and closing the branch, processing international currency exchanges, dealing with the tough clients, you get the picture. I brought this up to my management and they simply told me they are doing their part. Why are you complaining about doing your own? Can't a man handle this? Cue the malicious compliance. In response to this, I decided to do what they least expected, become the best teller they had ever had. I started to maintain all of the branch's marketing materials so it looked much more professional. I developed our own means of promoting our lending products and became the highest producing loan officer in the company for 3 months in a row. I picked up other tasks that were being neglected in the branch and nobody else knew how to process. I even took multiple trainings offered by the company to be able to process more complex products, such that account holders from other branches started to come to me and my branch to do business. It was an exciting time, but extremely busy. My management, on the other hand, was super happy to take credit for all of my labor, communicating to upper management that they had pushed our branch to reach their own lofty goals and had trained us for such. That was the straw that broke this camel's back. I shopped around and found a part-time position at a marketing firm across town. It was intriguing to me, and despite being part-time, would pay better than what I was currently being paid. I was paid much less than the other two tellers, who only started working a couple of months before me. I interviewed and got the job. I went to my manager and told her that I was quitting, that I had enough of them taking credit for my work, and that the attitude was belittling and was hurting the entire team. She couldn't believe what I was saying, but dismissed it and simply said, "Well, fine then, we're done here. Leave your keys with my assistant." Before dropping off my keys, I dropped an email to our area vice president, cluing her in on everything in the branch. 2 weeks later, I received a call from this very manager, begging me to come back to train the team on the many different tasks they had left me to learn and take care of. I told her sweetly, "I'm sorry, I'm terribly busy with my new job. I'm sure your favorite tellers can take care of it all for you. You've never doubted them before," and hung up. I heard another week later from a teller I had worked with at another branch that the area vice president had run an investigation into this branch. The numbers had plummeted after I left, and it was discovered that the manager was not meeting her own lending quotas. And the assistant manager had been removing all fees from all the customers' account and transaction in order to attract them to her to get more business. They were both fired, and I was free. Thanks for watching the video. If you had fun watching the video, please subscribe to the channel for more content. And please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.